everybody. Welcome back to the Slow Dive podcast. In case you forgot who I was, it's Farida and Drew. Hi, Drew.
Hey, I'm back.
Yes, we are back. Season 2. This is our second episode. We had a bit of a hiatus from our first episodes of season 2. But we're back. We're back into it. We're a little bit restored, a little bit excited to dive into some newer episodes and introduce some amazing guests in the upcoming weeks with you. But today we are going to be talking about a couple of different things. But let's just start with, first of all, May is Mental Health Awareness Month, obviously. So we're going to start with that. I think just to lead in, why were we on hiatus, Drew? Let's discuss that.
I think after Sick, Sad, and Mad, we had planned at least a few weeks off to start planning new episodes. But then there was the fires, if I'm remembering correctly, right? And you were actually evacuated. Right, you were.
Mm-hmm.
I think you texted me from. Were you staying at like a?
No, I had to go to a community shelter.
That's where it was,
because yeah. But then I decided to be like, one of those survivor people and say, you know what, I'm going to stay at home without the electricity. And I pulled out like my lanterns and
nice.
Which was crazy because. Everyone was like, there's no electricity. What are you doing in your place? Just so everybody knows, I was not affected by the Palisade fires or any of the passage. Where I'm at, I was closest towards Calabasas and Malibu. And we had an evacuation by our fire department because of the winds and everything happening in Calabasas, there was a chance that our neighborhood would also be affected. So as a safety precaution, they did these rollouts where they took us off the grid as a safety measure. So that is why we had to do that, because everything, refrigeration, when you don't have electricity, you have nothing, right? So all the food in the refrigerator, all that, so it's uncomfortable. And for me, luckily, I don't have anyone with any any health needs where that would affect them. And I did go during the day because I'm an internet junkie and I need to check my work emails. So that was nice to meet people in the shelter, but it was a wild time. I'm just very grateful I wasn't affected. But as you know, Drew, our city, our industry, our friends, our businesses, we all know somebody who has been impacted by this. And
we were all impacted in some small way. I didn't work the month of January because every job I had was canceled. So
yeah.
And my girlfriend came and lived with me for a week because she lives in Pasadena, and the smoke and the wind. She wasn't in an evacuation zone, but the smoke and the wind was so awful around her apartment that she left and stayed with me. I fortunately, I'm in a part of town where we were not affected by the fire. So honestly, you wouldn't know that there was a fire from where I was living. It was, we were really lucky.
Does your girlfriend have like asthma or like breathing issues? Because I know my friends who deal with asthma, just the smoke quality, even if you weren't affected, like your home or properties or where you're living wasn't affected in the line of fire, just the smoke quality, if you're asthmatic or have like sensitive lungs or have those, that's very difficult. So so like when we said we were on hiatus, there's a lot. And I think we can start with this discussion. Obviously, mental health. Our industry, film, television, media, has been, since the pandemic, has been dealing with a lot of stuff, and with the economic viability of the industry here, at least in the Los Angeles greater area, and compounded with the pandemic, the writer's strike, the contraction, and then the fires. I just think a lot of people were just like, oh my God, like, what else do we need to happen? Like, it was and it still is, but at least in that time, the beginning of the year, we were all like kind of down, like just,
yeah, absolutely.
And so Yeah, I mean, so I think, yeah, like you said, you weren't working that month. A lot of people weren't working. There was a lot of canceled
Yeah.
productions. I know a lot of stuff was sidelined just for us to like deal with it. And if you had
Hmm.
friends and family that you were helping out, who had lost their home or just needed support, as a city, of course, I don't know. Did you do any volunteering? I mean, there was like we did a lot of the there was just like a need for clothing, need for food, need for just basic staples. So like the Rose Bowl and different areas around town were set up as, you know, climate disaster relief situations. I live a little bit closer out here to Malibu, so like when we had everything closed from the PCH from Canaan all the way down to the Palisades, and that just opened like I think in March, which is like just with the fires and the mudslides. So
Yeah.
there was just, I mean, every day I think after our news cycle kind of slowed down a bit, the national news cycle, like the local news is still pretty relevant, like if you know,
Yeah.
yeah. So mentally, speaking of mental health, I think Californians, man, and Southern Californians, especially people in the business, we're dealing with it. And what I've noticed, and I don't know if you've noticed it, Drew,
Mm.
um, a lot more talk has been happening about the mental health. Like now, like, you know, different film groups are doing stuff. I don't know. Have you noticed that? Like people are starting to be like more open about like what's happening and we can talk about it now.
You know, I've noticed it over the years that I've been in this business that people talk more about um, taking care of yourself mentally while working in our field. Because I mean, it really used to not be something that anyone talked about
Mm-hmm.
when I started a decade ago, and now I think there's a lot more. Maybe it was you who showed me this actually. There was a PSA that I saw recently that was aimed at the film industry, and it was a mental health awareness PSA. We'll have to find this and maybe link it in the show notes, but
Yeah.
it was, I'm sure if anyone showed this to me, it was probably you, Farida.
Yeah, no, it's
That
entertainment. Yeah, it's the entertainment fund for the production people. They had set out a lot, and like, yeah, it was on one of their websites. It's like
yeah,
very popular.
and it follows like a production assistant who's, overworked and stressed out, and then I think at the end of the PSA someone like checks on them. And I'd never seen something like that was so targeted at our industry.
Mm-hmm.
um but we really have needed it lately. I also did want to say on the topic of mental health, here in LA, the longest mental health care worker strike in US history just ended yesterday.
Yes.
The Kaiser mental health care workers were on strike for over 6 months, which I know because my girlfriend is a LCSW at Kaiser. So
Oh wow,
I was
she's
with
doing
her.
great work.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's,
Oh yeah. I was with her, the whole time she was out of work, and now she's back. Today is her second day back at work.
yay.
So,
What? And forgive me, but for our audience, can you illuminate us what they were striking for? Like, what was the
mm. So
what were they
there
working
were there
towards?
were a number of things that they were striking for. A big one was their pensions. So only about half, maybe less, of the Kaiser mental health workers in SoCal have a pension. And that's because I think in 2015 they took it out of the contract. And so people that
Mm,
were working there before had it, people that were working after did not. Um, the other big one was it's patient management time, which is basically the time that your therapist has to like write up your notes or make phone calls if they have to call somebody about your case. Uh, all the kind of administrative stuff that's not just time with the patient. Kaiser workers didn't have a lot of that time allotted in their weeks,
mm,
and Kaiser was reserving the right to schedule patients during that time. So it was pretty common for Kaiser workers to have no patient management time during the week. And so that
wow.
means that almost all of it gets done after work, off the clock. They now have 7 hours of patient management time, and 2 of those hours can be booked into, but 5 of them are safe. They're guaranteed patient management time per week.
Wow,
So,
and that's really, I'm glad you're bringing this up because that is important work. Social workers, doctors, counselors, therapists, like, and I know because in my volunteer work with immigrant rights and refugee rights, like these are all the other support systems that we need systems in place. People really use their emotional energy and you burn out and you carry
yeah.
that with you. So
Mhm.
if you don't even have time and you're overbooked, I mean, and like I said, I'm not a doctor. I'm just thinking, yeah, that's a lot of
It is.
emotional weight on a person. And
Yes.
I also know we don't take care of our social workers, teachers, and
Yeah.
first responders the way we should in our the way
And
we should in this country either.
the
Like
result
it's
is
just a lot of hard
yeah,
work.
the people that are taking care of our mental health don't have time to take care of their own mental health. I know I've seen
Mm,
it firsthand.
yeah.
So, um,
Well, that's that. How long was the strike?
it
I mean that's
was
good. That's why unions and strikes work. This
it
is
was
exactly why.
almost 7 months.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Wow,
So,
wow,
they
that's
began in
good.
October. Um, yeah, I mean, you mentioned immigrants and refugees, and there's another group of people that are, I mean, things that have been going on cannot be good for your mental health in that area.
I mean, let's just assume that since we had change in our elected officials this year, a lot has gone down since our hiatus. So much has happened since
Yes.
our last 3 months. That's what I'm saying. We are now. Uh, I don't know about you. I have something where I process everything delayed. Like
Mm,
I don't know if it's just a habit, if it's a personality thing. It's just the way I cope with life. But like I compartmentalize stuff and I set it aside, and then later I process it, whether it's through art, journaling, whatever. I'm like, when I sit back and I think about how many things on a larger scale have happened to our country that are affecting our mental health, cost of living crisis, crazy hyperinflation, tariffs, um, all the other things, then like the foreign policy end of it, conflict end of it,
mm,
and then just elected officials without, saying too much because that's another thing.
yeah,
Censorship. You're like, what can we say anymore?
I know, right? It's a scary time for sure.
So this like
Um,
another layer of like the 7-layer dip of like trauma that we're all like dealing
well,
with. And it's
you know,
crazy.
you said that you have that delayed response to things, but I don't think that's always such a bad thing. You know, in that TV show, the FX show Shogun,
Mm-hmm,
uh,
mm-hmm.
the uh Toranaga, the character on the show, he's like something terrible happens and he says, I'm gonna take a nap."
Yeah,
And he says, "Well, there's almost no bad thing that gets worse from having a good night's sleep."
true.
And he's right. Uh Maybe you can take that all too far if you just ignore something for too long, but you know, something stressful happens, just sleep on it. Sometimes
Yeah.
sometimes you wake up and you feel a little better and you can tackle it.
I was, as our preparation for our first episode back from our hiatus, I have a few notes and I was like, there's the
Mm,
5 stages of grief before we get into other topics.
mm,
There's denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. And that could be applied to a lot, that those stages of grief can be applied to a lot of things. And I can tell you, um, let's just talk about the industry since we're both in it,
yeah.
film and television. I personally am going through a different. I'm now at the acceptance part of my industry,
Mm,
a grief process. I think the last 5 months, even before the fires, there was like, okay, it's gonna let up. It's gonna be different, and it just seemed to get incrementally worse. And I did have a little depression episode, No Stigma, but like where I was just like, man, this sucks. Like Hollywood is definitely restructuring and evolving. It's no longer going to be the same Hollywood ever again.
Yeah.
And a lot of us, at least for me, no, I wouldn't say a lot of us, but I'll speak on for myself. There was a lot of bargaining, like, oh, maybe if I just do this. Now it's like I've come to a place where, okay, I've accepted that Hollywood's changing, the business model's changing. We don't know what exactly it looks like for indie players. We know what it looks like for studios and streamers. Where do I fit in? And I've accepted the part that I will have to adapt, and I started pivoting and adapting. But there was a good 2 months of like a little bit of delusion, denial, a little coping. And then it's like you hear about your friends and colleagues moving out of state, moving to Georgia, or like deciding to go get other jobs outside the industry, and they're like, this is just not feasible.
Honestly,
yeah.
It's probably not the best thing to admit, but I didn't look for jobs outside the industry, but I thought very seriously about what I could do if I had to leave this industry. And, it was scary at first, but I did some research. I, put down a list of like things that I could do, things that it wouldn't be too hard to train into, or things I already have the training for. And having that and then going forward, staying in the industry, it was helpful to have. It was helpful to know that there's options for me, that whatever happens, I'll take care of myself. People don't like to think about leaving the industry when they work in this industry, but I think that when you take some time to think about it, it becomes a less scary thing, and then you can move forward without fear. It's good for your mental health.
Yeah. And I also think, there is this exodus after the fires, after the contractions. Like, ultimately, like, I feel like if you're in a position where you have a family and you have a lot of things you have to take care of, ultimately, ideally, you want everything. But a lot of people can't do that. They need to do something different. And I've kind of been on this. I mean, I'm a lot older than you, Drew.
Not a lot older.
I am. Call me Auntie Farida. But I've been through this before, where there were cycles of business, and back in the real estate crash in 2009, that happened.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of like restructuring, and there was a lot of like, okay, where do we go from now? And I came back into the film the second time, the television the second time, right at the time of the pandemic, because I'm so smart. And I was like, yes. And then we had lockdowns. So like I have been pivoting ever since I got back into it. I had a really good run in social impact and nonprofit and advocacy work in my break from television and film. I was on a different career path. And my alternate career was, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go into city planning, urban planning, or social impact. And I was looking into MBAs and all that stuff. And then I was like, no, I'm going to just go back into it, give it my one last shot. And then I came back into it. And then the COVID-19 happened. And ever since then, though, honestly, it has been pretty crazy. And now I feel like, and I say this because there's a lot of people, I don't know, when I was younger, there was a lot of like shame for me attached with like your job and your income is your whole identity, but it's not. When I was younger, I was devastated when I went through losses like that, because I felt like, like these material items or this quote lifestyle is like it equals to who I am as my self-worth. But now that I'm older and no longer a spring chicken, I've been through life and lost stuff and got a lot of stuff, you realize it's just stuff, and you can't control the economy. You really can't. Like stuff like tariffs, like you're going to get sidelined, you're going to get curveballed. Like if the industry is going to disrupt and you're one of the people that is a part of the disruption because it's being automated, or they're deciding to do global productions because it's not feasible to do it here, it's just not affordable. Yeah, now we see state officials trying to get those credits. It's like, this has been happening over a decade. This could have been the deal from the get-go, but we waited till it got really bad to now this urgency when you're realizing a lot of your community is leaving. And that's the thing that I realized. If you truly love what you can do, you can still do it and take on another career, a second career, another thing. Because I don't think people are one trick ponies, so to speak. I think every step of the way in our life, we have opportunities to unlock another level of ourselves. So if you're faced with the challenge, let's just say the economy sucks right now for a lot of Americans. Yeah, maybe living in the most expensive city, getting paid the least amount may not work for the long term, but maybe it would work if you're younger because you don't have that much to, you can plan longer. There's no shame in it. You can still make movies and still do your thing wherever you're at. At the same time, if you want to go back to law school and be an entertainment attorney or be an IP specialist, you can do that. Who's to say you can't do both? Because that's where I'm at now. I'm like, maybe this is happening because it's supposed to happen. Everything has a boom and bust cycle. Where do I fit in? And last year, myself and a group of other producers, we produced a workshop called, not a workshop, it was a webinar. I don't know why I said workshop, webinar, called Convergence, the Future of Work. And that was way before the fires. That was early last year. And we were talking about how producers and people who are employed in the studio system and who are on larger projects before the writer's strike and now are unemployed, what could be our pivot? If we wanted to pivot from film, what could be the other direction? And those are really healthy talks. We were the first ones doing it, which I have to say. And we had a really great panel. And we had someone from Google and talking about how AI was going to like really take up. And at that time, it was still like people were still kind of like new to Chat GPT. They're like, oh, I know what Chat GPT is. And now everybody's using it. Like I get emails with Chat GPT. I've used Chat GPT to rewrite my bio. I'm like, okay, let me include this. It's now becoming so acceptable. So I felt like I went through the grief process, and now it's like, I'm going to continue to work in film and television, but like, obviously if the opportunities start contracting as they are and drying up, and there's just not that many, obviously you have to take care of yourself. And I don't know, that's where I'm at. Like, it gives you an opportunity, or we, you could always do global production. You can just be like, you know what, I'm backpacking through Spain. I'm gonna go film in Turkey. I'm gonna go to Korea. I don't know. It is.
I think whatever you do, if you're a creative person, I mean, people take time off from this industry and then they come back to it, and the time that they were away, it's never time that wasted. I so after I finished college, I went to college for film, but then for 2 years I worked in a kitchen, and in those 2 years I learned lessons that are applicable in my film industry career. And a lot of times when I was in that job, that day job, I remembered this. I think it was Werner Herzog who said this, that if he started a film school, that the application to the film school would be you'd have to, like, I think he said you have to backpack from like Paris to Egypt or something and keep a journal, and then
Oh,
you submit
wow.
the journal, and that's your application to the film school. Very the kind of thing that Werner Herzog would say.
I love Werner
Um,
Herzog. Love him.
but like that, his point was just like, if you want to be a creative person, especially a filmmaker, then you should be able to like derive something from like any experience that can be, especially something like that. Like, but your life should be kind of your resume,
Yeah, yeah,
whatever
yeah,
it
yeah.
was.
It's not the destination; it's the journey. It's
Hmm.
like how you live your life. Yeah, I mean, especially for creatives, I think every experience lends to our storytelling, everything. I think the older we get, we just have more life wisdom and experiences to pull from. And I mean, yes, absolutely. I'm a realist. I know Hollywood has changed forever. I'm not holding on to the old Hollywood from like 5 years ago. Uh, Even the writers' rooms have shrunk. There's like what 600 less writers' jobs or something. It was like crazy. And so many people have left LA to go pursue production gigs in other states because we're just not filming out here as much. At the same time, I'm here and I'm like, this is just one thing I do, right? And I, at least in where I'm in my life, I'm like, I'm continuing taking on projects and seeing where it goes. And I always felt like when I was younger, Drew, I don't know if you feel like this, but when I was younger, I felt like if I made a commitment to this, I'll stick through it. And I have done that. But the adult version of me now says, okay, sometimes you can make some bad decisions and sometimes you have the right to change your mind. You know, like it's totally okay. Like I'm feeling this right now. I may not feel like this 6 months from now, you know? And I think that's like obviously bespoke to everybody's circumstances and where they are in their life and what they're dealing with. But for me and my cats, it's a pretty easy, it's a pretty easy decision. We're gonna stay put for now.
Yeah.
It's pretty easy.
We have to work hard so our pets can have a good life.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I gotta build a legacy for my cats, Annie and Joey. You know, I gotta leave them everything in the will. No, that's my sister. She's my benefactor. I told her that, and she's like, "Why did you tell me that?" I said, "I don't know, just in case." Because that was another thing. You know, when the fires were happening, I'm the eldest, so I have all the. I have a lot of the family heirlooms and like the older photos and stuff. And so along with like taking care of like all the important documents, I had to pack up like photo albums and stuff because that was my thing. I'm like, I don't want to lose this.
Of course not.
So my sister was like, she got a little triggered and she's like, you know what, Frida, I think you should send me all the photo albums because where I live, we don't have fires like you. And on that note, and the reason why is, and we're gonna now talk about it, because what's happening this weekend is Mother's Day, which also happens in May.
Yes.
So I mean, this is just us like talking. I'm pretty sure I mentioned it. If people actually follow this every episode, maybe they caught it, they didn't. But my mom, my dear mom, passed away in August. And this time last year, I was in Texas visiting her and obviously had no idea that she wouldn't be with us. So that's something else. Like I think we wanted to touch on today, Drew, was like talk about Mother's Day and grief and just, you know, celebrating moms. So yeah, I mean,
I'm really sorry, Frida, and this that would make this your first Mother's Day without her. Yeah. I'm really sorry.
Yeah, thank you. So we were talking about delaying processing. This is crazy. We're going to talk about grief. Obviously, this is the first parent I lost. My dad is still with us. Thank you, God. But I did not have the reaction that a lot of people have. Like my brother and my sister grieved very heavily and still are. I was very much like, oh, okay. And I was like, what is wrong with me? And then in January, the floodgates. Oh, okay. The floodgates and the emotions, all that, like, oh my God, my mom's really gone. It hit me in January. Like, I knew she was gone intellectually, and I obviously cried and grieved her, but like the second layer of grief or the waves of grief, it did not affect me till January. And now I have to say I can't even talk about her without tearing up, and it just feels like she just passed away yesterday, and she didn't. And I'm pretty sure for anyone who's lost a loved one, yeah, it's strange navigating this. So to all the people out there who've lost parents, their moms, on this Mother's Day, my hearts go out to you as well. It is a awful. It's an awful thing, but it's obviously life. It ends at some point, unfortunately. We all go somewhere. And Drew, also, I wanted to say my
Mm,
condolences
yeah,
to
thank you.
you.
Yeah, my grandmother passed away a little over 2 weeks ago, and that was a pretty crazy week for me because I happened to be on my way to a wedding, uh, and then also a few days later was my birthday, which is also my dad's birthday,
Oh my
which is
gosh.
yeah, which is also my girlfriend's birthday.
Oh my
Yeah,
god. That's
I
always
know, right?
that's
So
crazy.
and then because my grandmother was Jewish, the funeral had to be as soon as possible, so that it ended up being on our birthday.
Wow.
So uh, we all and none of us could be there because um, we were in Texas for the wedding, and then my dad happened to get sick that week and couldn't
Oh
travel.
my
So
gosh.
we were all attending the funeral over Zoom on our birthday, which was that Sunday. And then I had to fly back to LA like the very next day too. So it was a really crazy week, and I really didn't have time to process any of it until like I got home, and like so that our flight back was Monday, and we landed around 3 p.m. Uh, and then of course it took us until 6:30 to actually get home because of how awful LAX is, one of the worst
Mhm.
airports in the world.
Yes,
And
that is true.
when I was home for the first time after all that stuff happened, it was like, whoa, you know, all of that happened. um,
Are you
so
still processing or is it still sinking in? Because it's so early,
I
it's
mean,
recent.
honestly, yes. I mean, there's times where like it hits me like, oh yeah, grandma's gone. You know, uh,
Yeah.
I mean, uh, she was sick for a while, and so we all knew that this was coming, and we none of us were shocked or anything. Um,
Yeah.
but it's obviously still a tragedy in our family. I mean, you talk about a matriarch. That's what my grandmother was.
Oh.
My mother
Tell me
told me,
about her personality. What was she
oh my
like?
gosh, my grandmother was the kind of person who she was in control of everything. So my mom told me this story after she died. So when my mom was pregnant with me, um, my due date was May. I think my mom said May 3rd,
Mhm.
and but my grandmother said to her, "You're gonna have your baby the day I had my baby," and my mom said, "Okay, sure, Myrna." Myrna Franzblau is my grandmother's name.
Oh.
She said, "Sure, sure," but then it happened. She,
Mhm.
I was born on my dad's birthday.
That is
I
amazing.
mean, she didn't. She wasn't just the head of our family. She ruled the world. She was.
Oh.
You know, whatever. She just said it, and it was true. Uh, she she
What does she like to do? Was she as creative like you too?
yeah, she so after she retired from teaching, she took up painting, and all of us have some paintings of hers in our houses now. She was a pretty good painter.
Nice.
um so I we all have one. um Actually, that's not true. I don't have one, but everyone else in the family has one. I just haven't picked one yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
uh um and yeah, I mean, she really cared about all of us. I mean, whenever I have three cousins and my sister, so she had five grandchildren, and whenever one of us had like a school assignment, especially like a book report or something, she would get the book and read it and mark up with notes, and then like help us with the book report.
Oh.
The last time I was staying there, at their house, we found in the basement this copy of Cry the Beloved Country, which is a
Mhm.
really good book.
Yeah.
And it had these notes all over it, and it was grandma's handwriting. And I guess it was from when my cousin Ethan was assigned to read it in high school. Um, and he's in his 20s and lives in New York now. Uh, yeah, so that's how she was. She always looked out for us. She always wanted what was best for us, and whatever she thought was best for us, like that's how it had to be. She would make it so.
So let me ask you, what
So
was like her like one like a piece of advice she'd always give? Because you know, grandmas and moms, they always have like a couple of things they always like remind you to do. Was there anything that you can think of right now?
when I was little, she used to tell me, uh, you may not have gold in your pocket, but nothing can ever take the gold in your heart. It's so corny,
Oh my
but like
gosh.
I remember it very vividly because she said it to me multiple times. And
See? See?
yeah,
That's so sweet. That's so
yeah.
sweet. So how are you gonna like honor your grandmother now? Like I know, like are you have any like memorial ideas? Or are you gonna do something in her honor? I'm just what because I mean everyone
Well,
has
you know, I know we're gonna travel to see my grandfather very soon. My
yeah.
girlfriend and I are gonna go. We were lucky that my girlfriend got to meet her. They loved each other.
Oh, that's good.
Um, and uh, so we're gonna go visit soon. And I think we really want to make sure that Papa is happy and taken care of because I think that's what she would have wanted.
Yeah.
Um, I think, I mean, her funeral being on our birthday, I think, is also what she would have wanted. So we'll always remember.
Yeah, no, that's wild because that's one of those things. I'll tell you a story that's very similar to yours, but not quite similar, but not exactly. So, in the Islamic calendar,
Hmm.
we obviously we follow Islamic calendar, so it's based on a lunar thing, and so the month of Ramadan. I was born on Eid. That's the holiday that closes Ramadan, right? Eid al-Fitr. And my mom was born on Chandrat, which means moon night of the moon, which they tell you what day Eid is going to be based on the moon sighting.
Mm.
So my mom and I always had that little conversation. Like it was always a funny thing. Like when I was younger, my aunts and uncles would be like, "Yeah, you know, your mom went into labor on Eid," and we were all. It was like it's like our holiday. It's like our Christmas, our big holiday. So we had that in common, and I don't know, like I think I've turned into my mother. Like that was something that when I always like people say, "Do you turn into your mom when you get older?" I've started developing a lot of her personality traits are like as I things I didn't quite understand when I was younger because I'm like, I'm my mom because I was a rebellious young kid. But now I'm like, I'm that person. I'm that eccentric old lady. So it I don't know. I'm still processing my mom's grief. I, for me, I have to say, I don't know, because your grandmother Myrna she also had what we call like a gift, and she said she knew that your dad was going to be born the same day. Yeah, you were going to be born the same day her son was,
Yeah.
which is a gift, right? Knowing that, just like ta-da, spiritually. Um, a lot of ladies in my family have that too. And one of the good things is that my mom has, and this may sound weird to some people, but I'll share it because hey, this is a podcast, we're speaking. My mom has visited me many times in my dreams since her passing, and in a very like the younger version of herself, a healthier version. She had a very during the pandemic, she was diagnosed with Alzheimer's dementia, and it progressed really quickly, and it caught my family off guard. So she went from being someone who could do everything to being in bed and not being able to do
Mm.
anything over a
Yeah.
course of 2 years. So the last Mother's Day, when I saw my mom, she was in bed. She couldn't really do a lot. And me, my brother, and my sister, we were in Texas because that's where my parents live as well. And I mean, part of me knew that this could be the last time I saw her, but I wasn't 100% sure because you don't want that. Um, and it was wild. I mean, it's crazy. It's a year ago,
Yeah.
and her thing was my brother lived in another city at the time, another state. My sister lived in with that like in their hometown in Texas, and I lived on the West Coast. And she just wanted all her kids to be together at one time. And forever since the pandemic, it was becoming a challenge for us. And somehow Mother's Day last year my brother, my sister, and myself, we were all together with my mom on Mother's Day. And that was kind of an eerie feeling. We didn't want to talk about it because her health was like deteriorating, like her mobility was. We just didn't want to say it out loud. Like, is this happening? Because we just tried so many times with schedules. It's just one of those things. And now I look back and I'm like, wow, I'm so glad I went last year at the time I did, because I was also having trouble getting out of LA for a number of work related and health related reasons. Just finding in my schedule, it just wasn't working. But yeah, I mean, losing a grandparent, parent, anyone, I mean, it, like I said, for me, I think everyone has their relationships with their loved ones. Even if they're complicated relationships, like it's just one of those things. Like,
yeah,
the deeper the love, the stronger the bond, the greater the pain of loss. You know what I mean?
yes,
Even if you know that life ends for all of us, and you're like, okay, this person could be 100, this person could be 97, they could have a beautiful life, they could be in distress, you still don't like the idea of them leaving. And it's just, it's a whole new, for me, Drew, it's opened a lot of like, I'm like, okay, after losing a parent, it changes you. For me, it changed me. Like, I'm like, okay, life is getting serious. Not that it wasn't serious before, but it's something like having like this safety net of knowing both your parents are alive, just knowing that. And even if you just any parent figure, maybe you don't have the best parents, but like whoever is your figurehead parent figure in your life, I don't know, as an added level of security and love that so when one person leaves, it's like, now it's like, oh gosh, now I know what this pain feels like. So I can understand other people who are grieving their parents' loss, and it's a tough road, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was a very deep and personal
Yeah, we got really
episode.
into our personal lives at this one. I don't think we've normally done that, but it was good. It was good to talk about that stuff with you, Farida.
Yeah.
And I hope it
Well,
was good for our listeners too.
yeah. I'm gonna say, because I know we're gonna wrap this up, and since it is mental health, and who's your favorite TV mom or film mom?
Oh, that's really hard.
Do you have one or two?
Okay, so this is an interesting one, I think. Maybe not that interesting. I really love Buffy's mom on Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I thought
Yeah.
she's really great, supportive, understanding mom of the wild, fantastical stuff that's happening to her daughter. And then also, well, I don't want to spoil anything for someone that's never watched Buffy, but there's a very, very powerful episode of that show that pertains to a lot of stuff we've talked about on this episode about Buffy's mom. So I think it comes around season 4 or 5. I haven't watched it in a long time, but it's a very impactful episode of the show.
Yeah, I have a couple. I like Marge Simpson. I think she's eccentric and quirky. And I also like I watched this show when I was younger, so Gilmore Girls, the mom from Gilmore Girls.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know. I like the relationship, but I don't know. I think Morticia Addams is really cool too.
Yes.
I mean, I have the Addams family chair. Like that's why I have it. Like I'm obsessed with the Addams family, and I love their relationship. I love their family. I grew up watching it, and I was like, she is such a badass. Like
Morticia and Gomez really have like the most enviable.
I mean,
marriage.
if I'm not Morticia, but if I can find a Gomez in life again, I would be set. I loved Gomez. That is my type out there, just letting y'all know.
Yeah. I wanted to throw another one in, and it's not necessarily because she's a great mom, but it's on TV. It's airing right now. Edie Karn on Andor, Cyril's mom.
Oh, okay.
She isn't the best mom, but she's a very memorable mom, and especially as a Jewish person, very relatable. She's not like my mom, but she is a lot like my grandma, actually.
Now I have to watch it.
It's really good. I'm not like a fanboy of stuff like that. I haven't really liked Star Wars since I was a kid, but Andor, incredible
Okay.
television show.
Okay,
Yeah.
but Drew, before we sign off, what is one thing you love about your mother?
I really admire that my mom is a free spirit, that
Mm-hmm.
she lives very authentically. Maybe we'll cut this out. I don't know. But my parents are separated. They're divorced, and the reason is because my mom came out as gay about, let me do the math, 15 years ago, and she became very depressed around that time, and then through therapy realized that this was the reason, is because she
Yeah.
didn't realize that she had suppressed it since she was like a teenager.
Oh.
And so they separated amicably. It's not anyone's fault that
Yeah,
happened.
of course.
Um, but then ever since she's come out, she's lived very authentically and very freely, and I have tried to follow her example there.
That's beautiful. No, I mean, that's beautiful. You should live your authentic life and be free spirited. It takes a lot of guts to be who you are,
Mm.
Like, we're in a society where, like, yeah, and I mean, yeah, hats off to your mom. That's amazing. I will say my mother, she was very, like, she calls it legacy. Like, you can't bullshit her. Like, she had a good bullshit meter, and I like that about her. She was tough, but she was a softie. So because she was like a very ambitious, strong, passionate woman in her younger years before she got married, I think there was this persona that she wasn't a softie, but she was very overprotective. And I think when I think of Mama Bear, like the side of being protected, like that's how she was. She wasn't, I wouldn't say she was a coddler. Like that's why I think my sister and I were so tough and we can we're like suck it up, get through it, push through it. Like I think the things I learned from my mom were to exercise patience, persist, and you'll get through anything.
Mm.
And I really admired that about my mom. And honestly, the best thing I miss about my mom that I will never get to see in this life, which I will forever miss, is her smile. She had she had a really beautiful smile. And yeah, that's what I'm gonna miss about my mom. But my mom was an amazing person. She did a lot of good. She did a lot of good things and people didn't know about it. That was the thing. She just genuinely did good things and she didn't make fuss about it. Like, which I thought was very altruistic of her. And I was,
Mm.
yeah, I mean, yeah, I'll miss my mom, but she'll probably visit me in my dreams, hopefully, and
I'm sure.
as a young and vibrant self. But that's beautiful. What about Myrna? What about your grandmother? What is one thing you love about your grandmother? Or you're gonna miss about your grandmother?
Really, just how much she cared about all of us, and how much effort that she put into our our lives. I mean, uh, she every year she would call on a birthday and sing happy birthday to us. We also every year she would send us like a custom made birthday card that
Mm.
had like pictures of us that she'd taken that year, and it was like custom written. Um, I mean, like I mentioned about how she'd always help us with the homework when we were growing up. She was actually the first person to know that I had ADHD.
Mm.
She, because she had taught fourth grade before my dad and my aunt were born, and she just recognized that right away when I was really young. I think before I'd even started kindergarten.
Yeah, sounds
Yeah,
like a wonderful lady,
thank you.
and
Yeah, she was.
I love hearing people. I love hearing grandkids and sons, and I love. I think that's the way we can honor our past loved ones is to remember the good things they brought into our lives, right? Because their
Mm.
presence in our lives incrementally is still pivotal, and that's how I choose to remember my mom, as just all the great things that I learned from her through her experiences, and I just want to carry it forward to my cats. That's right. No,
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, through my podcast, through my films, through my works, through my writings. You know what
Yeah,
I mean.
we're
All
gonna
right.
carry it on to the next generation, whether there are biological offspring or not.
True. True.
Cats will benefit, hopefully, right? Maybe other humans too.
Yeah. Maybe this episode will help someone. I hope so. We were
Yeah.
trying to ease our way back from hiatus. So we always end with a reflective question, a call to action. So Drew, what's your call to action? What are we
Call
going
to action. Well, definitely call your mom if you can, or call your grandma, or call your auntie, or whoever was a maternal figure in your life.
Yeah. I would say my reflective question, because this is a reflective podcast. Where in your life can you mother yourself, or what is mothering energy like? And where can you help a mom? Is there a mom in your life that you can celebrate? Is there a friend? And of course, your mom, call your mother, but celebrate the mom friends. I mean, I'll tell you, some of the best friends I have are my mom friends. Because I realize they're great as friends, and they have that maternal energy, and it's like they'll check in on me, like, "Hey, Frida, how are you doing?" And it's like, "Oh, thank you. I'm not just like some, cat lady in my little bunker making podcasts and films." So I love my mom friends. They're cool. So hats off to all the mothers that I know, cousin moms, everyone in my family. You guys have a wonderful Mother's Day.
Yeah.
And we will be back in the next week or so with a few more episodes. Drew and I are back to the drawing board. We're coming back from our hiatus, and hopefully, if you guys like what we do, give us a rating. What else do we ask our guests to do, Drew?
Definitely rate and review. Follow us wherever we're on social media.
Yeah.
Am I forgetting anything? I'm sorry.
No, I don't know. I think this is good. I think we're gonna sign. I'm gonna sign off.
Listeners, we have really amazing guests lined up. I can't say it yet. I don't think we're ready to announce it, but it's really, really cool. I'm excited for the episodes we've got coming up. So
I'm excited too.
Yeah, listener, get excited.
Yes, please get excited and share this podcast. We're growing it. It's season 2.
Yes.
And if you have an amazing guest idea or a co-host, if you want to be a co-host, all our information is on the website, theslowdivepodcast.com. We're always looking for amazing guests that are on the intersection of impact, innovation, creativity, and community, what differences they're making. And also, we have a lot of roundtables scheduled later this year, which, this is a community-centered podcast, so we want to share the mic, right? It's not just like us talking to our audience. We want people to talk and discuss and exchange ideas with us, right? So that's it for me, guys. I'll see you guys next time.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
If you enjoyed The Slow Dive, please subscribe and leave us a positive review wherever you get your podcasts. The Slow Dive is hosted by Farida Rafique, edited by Drew Franzblau. Our theme song is Dive by Sarah. Thanks for listening.